Perhaps the greatest thing that we deal with in our day-to-day here on YouTube, in the black sector of YouTube as it is distinguishing fact from a lie. In so much as fact, we have to struggle with our personal biases and our beliefs in the ascertainment of the truth. So it has led me here, naturally, of course, in trying to take on Miss Christelyn Karazin's BS narrative to, in so many words, put the matter to bed. And so I would open this with the particular quote that you just saw at the beginning of the video. Si no sabes que la verdad, no sabes, pero tú nunca crees la mentira. In so many words, if you do not know the truth, you do not know, but you never believe the lie. And what it is, Miss Karazin, is that you tell quite a few lies. And over the course of this video series, or this 3-part video, because it's a very long video I have to respond to, I'm going to break down what you said in so many tidbits, and I'm going to show you how that's a lie. So, without further ado, let's get it.
This presentation, you will not be disappointed. This video is not for the high school arrested development people who have been dogging and stalking and mocking.
Well, then who would you say it was for? The cronies, the fangirls, the clappers, the people who just go like seals? No, I think when you put ideas out in the free marketplace of ideas, you are bound to have some criticism. I think that's fair, and I don't understand why it is we're going to have this conversation this early in the video, but let me just make it perfectly clear. I don't agree with people who say things for the point of flaming and trolling. But I do believe, however, that if you put an idea out into the marketplace of open ideas, you should be very well capable of standing on your square and defending those ideas. And let me just go on to say, if at any point that you have a problem with your ideas being challenged, then this is probably not the platform for you to espouse your ideals, because after all, free speech is free. And the only way we grow and learn in this environment is to question ideals that are different from our own. That's what we call engagement. Now, let me go on for a second to a tangent and explain the earlier quote. When I said to you, if you don't know the truth, then you don't know, but never believe the lie, it sets up a premise of, well, how can you know what's a lie if you don't know what's the truth? See, in this video, what I'm going to do essentially is not counting for every other thing she said, but dealing only what she said in this video. I'm going to inductively go through these premises and basically boil her argument down to its essence. And then based on how she has spoken, I'm going to logically show you how it is a lie. So while you cannot ascertain what is actually truth without having outside resources, you can at least, at the very least, determine that if what she says is true, based on her reasoning, it cannot be an accepted fact as truth and therefore is a lie or a falsehood. But we'll get to that, of course, much, much later.
This is for the intelligent people. I am sure by now those high schoolers have already lost interest. So now the grown folks are going to talk. So you've already seen the initial video that started all of this, and you already know that the person who did this was a complete opportunist that was augmented, elevated, and promoted by black men the same black men who rail against white supremacy. They say that I promote white men as saviors.
Okay, so before we get started, at this point, I have to ask the following questions. Who are you talking about? When was this? To whom are you referring? It's a given fact that, well, I know you're referring to the Veganator incident, but what I don't understand is what you're saying has to do with the premise of this being a kill shot. See, what I notice you've done here immediately is that you try to set up this premise that these attacks, as you call them, or want to call them, are unjust and unwarranted. In fact, you took a shot at the Veganator. For I've heard the man speak, and he seems to be a fairly reasonable person. So I'm kind of wondering why all of this. But I'm sure you'll explain this to me, right?
And what you saw, ladies and gentlemen, for the last week were hundreds, maybe thousands of men who allowed that man to be their white savior.
So let me get this straight. In so many words, you are upset because black men who found an agreement with this man, who just so happens to be white, because he took a position that they could agree with rather than a position you can agree with. And now you're reducing the man to being called an opportunist. He is a white knight savior for black men. I'm not really following how is this a kill shot. I'm not really quite understanding what you're going with here, because it seems to me you're kind of upset because you expected a group of men, for all intents and purposes, you have never had a positive history with, to agree with you. And because they didn't, you are limiting your feelings? Come on now, for an educated woman, you must certainly have to do better than that. If you calling this a kill shot, already we're not even maybe 5 or 6 minutes into this thing, and I am already thoroughly disappointed. I really want to quit making this video right now, to tell you the truth, because if this is the kind of argument you're setting up, showing 1 and 2 screenshots, not several. You say hundreds, if not thousands of men, and you can't name at least 20 as an example, whether they're prominent YouTubers or not. I'm beginning to believe that you're just building up this position of strength, or this narrative of I'm a victim because of being black and being a female, when clearly there is a different matter altogether as to why you probably drawn this ire. I'm beginning to think that this is a giant waste of time. But of course, I view you as low-hanging fruit, and I'm a bit hungry. So let's get to picking, shall we? No, all jokes aside, though, for all the things that have occurred so far at this point in the video, I'm not surprised. See, ladies and gentlemen, what happens is when you don't really have a legitimate argument, you tend to do things that draw away from the real issue. There's an old saying, a courtroom saying, I'm not sure who said it, so I do apologize for being a little inaccurate. But if you have the facts but not the law, you argue the facts. If you have the law but not the facts, you argue the law. If you have neither of those things, you bang the table. And so that's what it seems our beloved girl who swirls is already doing. I don't think she's presented any of the facts, and we know for a fact if there was such things for law to be on her side, I highly doubt she would have either. So right out the gate, she's banging the table.
They were gleeful. I want you to keep that in mind. And I also want you to keep in mind the overall message. This, my friends, is an ancient betrayal. This is not new. This is not because of white people. This is not because of slavery. Every damn time they are present at the crime.
Bullshit! Bullshit! Bullshit, 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 bullshit! Bullshit!
And I want to say right now that as a collective, black men have failed all black women in protecting them. At a means to their own selfish ends. And you wonder why the collective cannot rise.
Maybe it has much to do with the moral position of its women, but I could be wrong. But ladies and gentlemen, notice how far we've gotten into this video, and other than onesies and twosies screenshots, I have to ask you, and I want you to ask yourselves, has she already established a baseline of why things are as they are, or as she's getting ready to explain further into the video? I'm curious, because she just brought up a very strong accusation, and she says black men have failed the black woman. But she hasn't really so far shown us, other than people poking fun at her, why that is. Now, many of you know on this channel, I have made it perfectly clear my position on black women, and that I do believe that the majority of the fault for the black community, key word here, majority, falls with her, and I've elicited the reasons why. But I'm curious to see if Miss Karazin, let's see if Miss Karazin will enumerate for us all the reasons why black men are responsible for this failure. I'm pretty sure that she's not going to, but let's give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she does. Roll the footage.
I am giving you a microcosm. What we saw was literally groundbreaking and historic. Make no mistake, this is not a game. This is not play. What you saw is a psychology, a pathological psychology play out. Now, I claimed that black men didn't come to my rescue when I was being bashed. I wasn't just talking about this one random dweeby, nerdy white guy who thinks he's funny. He doesn't matter. He's irrelevant. Again, he was a nerdy, dweeby white guy that you elevated, a white man that you claim all white men are evil. I want you guys to understand something right now. Now, this is for the smart people. Now, I understand that the dumb people have probably already checked out, but you have to understand something. The narrative for the reason why I shouldn't be here is because there is this impression that I elevate and deify white men over black men, when the reality is the black men elevate white men every single time.
God, really? So, let me get this straight. And seriously here. You mean to tell me you have one screen cap to offer us of a troll, not 20 screen captures or 40 screen captures or video evidence of going down the channel or video clips from people who said things. And you follow that up with projection. See, Ms. Karazin, I wasn't going to bring the things in that you say, but like any good lawyer, when you open the door, since you are speaking in your own defense, in the defense of black women, you have opened the door for the prosecutor, which is now me, to rebut your statement. The problem is, Ms. Karazin, is that it has been said out of your mouth that you're not trying to promote interracial couples from the perspective of black men and white women and black men and black women being together on your website, or anything to the effect of showing black men engaging in these type of relationships. These were your words. And I go back to 2014 on the Chat Factor, and where you got into it with one Honorable David Carroll. I was there, I was present, and in fact, I was driving that night with my wife in the car when this conversation went down. And of course, you got flustered and quit the line. See, Ms. Karazin, when you state that black men, it's because they deify white men, that isn't the quite case. What it is that many of these men that you have a problem with can agree with the Veganators' assessment of you, and to a larger extent, most black women, because they recognize that he sees what they see. And so naturally, when people have a commonality, they tend to want to link up. And the reality is there is a growing population of men in general and black men in particular that are just simply tired of black women's bullshit. I mean, there's just no other way to say this. See, the difference is, Ms. Karazin, is that there are some sisters who are aware, who have some level of self-awareness to realize that the way they've comported themselves is not becoming. And as a result, they are losing the elite black men, the black men of bearing and substance, and even the average brother, blue collar, who is trying to make a way for himself in the world. They're losing out on these men because of stereotypical behaviors that they don't want to adjust. And those sisters who have the sense of self-awareness to correct those behaviors, even they're going to say you're full of shit here. So in so many words, what I'm saying to you is you are making a straw man. I won't say straw man, but I know for a fact that your argument doesn't logically make sense, but it is designed to stir up emotions. I would say you're kind of appealing to the emotions of certain individuals. With respect to it, no, I think I will also say it's straw man, because so far your position has been, it's not that black men have a legitimate gripe with you because of the things you said in the past. No, their gripe with you is based on the fact that they feel inferior, and so they must follow the lead of a white man. But then I have a problem with that argument also because, number one, that's not the real issue black men have with you. That's just something you made up in your little mind. But then you have to question, if I may, and I may be so bold to say, you would have to question, then they wouldn't be buffoons and idiots and weak men had they came to your defense. Ms. Karazin, you can't have it both ways. You can't beat up on the very population you're now expecting to come and corral around you and put their arms around you and say, there, sister, we got you. It doesn't work like that. So what you just explained for all the world is that you have, for all your education, you have to be the most cognitively dissonant female on this side of the Western Hemisphere. I mean, how difficult can it be? Ms. Karazin, let me just boil it down thus in case you spaced out. You stuck your foot in your mouth. The chickens have now come home to roost. And instead of just owning your shame like any mature adult would do, you go and attack the veganator ad hominem, and then you turn around in the same breath and castigate black men for not doing what you expect. And to quote my brother Obsidian Ali, the voice of the everyday brother, black female fuckery at its
at the
finest.
scene of the crime. Every single opportunity, you fall for it. And it is for that reason that as a collective, I have no respect for you. And that ill respect is well earned. And those tears that you saw in my eyes were the last vestiges of hope for you.
I'm sorry, I'm allergic.
It wasn't about some namby-pamby male nurse that you elevated and promoted. No. This was about what I saw, that you hate me so much that you were willing to throw every black woman, because make no mistake, that man who said he was just defending himself, he had to defend himself from a woman. Now understand this for a second. Somebody who claims to be a man with steroid induced muscles is saying that he has to defend himself against a woman who in fact he lied on.
Now you see something. Now you see now. You done fucked up, you know that, don't you?
So here we are. Again, we're about 30 minutes in almost, ladies and gentlemen, at least by my clock. And for some obtuse reason that I'm just not understanding, she seems to like personal attacks, arguments from emotion, straw mans. Let me just put this in perspective, Ms. Karazin. So essentially, what it boils down to is that your issue was that we as men didn't stick up for you, even though you just said it had nothing really to do with it. And then you say we threw all black women under the bus. No. Sweetheart, listen. It has nothing to do with the specific incident. It has nothing to do either with all black women. It has much to do with you and black women like you. It's not that we hate you. Oh, no. I can't speak for the aggregate. I'll speak for myself. But from brothers who are a bit more enlightened, it's not that we hate you. No. We can tolerate your bullshit ideas. We like making fun of it. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. But the fact of the matter is, it has everything to do with you and the things you say. It goes back to what you did earlier when you opened this door. You created the lane for black men to disagree with you. You said a lot of things untowards black men, and now you're angry that they won't be little puppy dogs and put their head in your lap and do what you tell them to do. That's not how this works. I'm sorry. I know you don't like this, but I'm going to keep drilling this point home to you. And then let me just go on to say, he wasn't a namby-pamby man nurse when you invited him up on your platform. Now, was he? So only when he said the things you did not like, therefore, now he becomes all these things. See, ladies and gentlemen, this is what black women like Miss Karazin do. When they think they have a chance of winning your favor, they will be as flattering and as kind and as encompassing and endearing and warm and welcoming. But the moment you curb that, you put that in a box to the left, you say, nah, I'm all right, cool, and here's why. Out come the fangs, ooh, sharp ass fangs, and them talons. And then they resort to this. Now, I would think that maybe people in her audience would have looked at this video and so far have said, wait a minute, sister. Now, normally we could ride with you, but you saying some shit that don't make no sense now. But then this goes to speak to the fact that the average American black woman is fucking loco. She's out of her fucking mind. She is batshit crazy. Because only a crazy person can make sense of what this woman is doing. Now, granted, People are going to say, but Azriel, aren't you attacking her character? No, I'm not attacking her or her character. I'm attacking the argument, and I'm going to say it this way. Let's examine so far what we have as a premise. Her issue with black men has been because Andrew the Veganator went on a live hangout. They have a disagreement. He explains his position and she doesn't like it. She gets upset because there are black men, or a small number, whom she hasn't shown us a great deal of black men. She saw us only onesies and twosies, have said some unkind things. She gets up on the video and she makes a tearful apology for which sent most of the black manosphere here on YouTube into bawdy, rancorous laugh. I wouldn't say rancorous, but bawdy fits of laughter. Like this was like gut. This was so gut wrenching that people were falling out of their chairs. At least I did, hearing this, and found it delightfully entertaining. And she was angry because instead of getting the sympathy she wanted from the men she had so denigrated and put out, that now she's coming back with this in a smokescreen to say, well, it's not my fault, it's you. And if you were men, and I'm not saying she's saying this verbatim, but this is the impression I get, and if you were men, this, that, and the third. Or at least that's my understanding of it. Now, if you would accept this as a logical argument, then I have to question how you came to this conclusion. Because what I see is this. The chickens have come home to roost. And Ms. Karazin, if black men were such a concern to you, certainly you would address the issues that so many have put before you, but you haven't. But now you want to castigate and critique these men. And I just thought of this. You're married to a white man. Why is it you expect black men to come to your aid online? Should not your husband come to your defense? I'm just curious. Enough said.
Here's the thing. You're always saying that white people are the devil, but they're only the devil when if it can elevate you, if it can throw your sisters under the bus, then you, and I'm glad that everyone can see what has transpired for the last week, because here is an example in real time of a group of black men who were so weak-minded that they let a subpar, low IQ white man who said, I don't care about black men. And even after that video came out, you still promoted him.
You know, I gotta hand it to you, Ms. Karazin. You're consistent, if nothing else. Consistently sophist, consistently fallacious, and consistently without a fact. At least so far to this point in the video. You keep attacking the Veganator and you keep trying to shame black men. What you don't understand is that we're hip to the game. And I think you do this because you want someone to throw you a pity party because what you thought was going to happen didn't. Well, let me quote some URL King of the Dot lines by saying these three words. Nobody fucking cares. This blew up in your face. No one cares about it. We just find it funny that you're going through all these theatrical lengths for a pointless issue. The Veganator is entitled to whatever opinions he has. And the fact of the matter is, I'm even more offended that you would take this position to go so far as say, well, he says he doesn't care about you. Okay, is that supposed to make us feel some kind of way? Let me explain this to you, sweetheart, in all seriousness. Most black men have realized that not many people give a fuck about him. His own woman does not give a fuck about him. The parents which procreated him into the world most likely didn't give a fuck about him. So we're used to that. But I find it offensive that you bring this up as if you give a fuck. when you earlier said you're not shedding any more tears, which is indicative of you not giving a fuck. In fact, you've gone so far to not give a fuck that you have basically have stated when it was put to you whether you would show white women dating black men, you wouldn't do anything for black men. So you didn't give a fuck then. So why the fuck are you now trying to give a fuck now? I'm just curious, because it's offensive to me. You have the unmitigated gall to get on this camera and purport yourself as if you give a fuck on the back door of the thing when you never did. At least that's the way I take it. Now, I could be wrong here. And if I'm not wrong, then you got some explaining to do.
So for all of you who say that I got my nigga wake up call, I would argue otherwise. I think we all know who got their nigga wake up call. And some of them are very prominent, and they should be embarrassed. They might even want to hire a PR consultant, because the thinking people who are still on this video listening know exactly what I'm talking about, because they sat quietly in the wings and watched it all play out. Now let me continue. Now, what I just said to you might sound like bashing to a very simple-minded person who has binary thinking and lacks nuance. But again, I'm speaking to smart people. The dummies can hop on the short bus because the grown folks are speaking.
Bashing black women. Oh my God. And I'm responsible. And I have to apologize. I feel so bad because I inadvertently got another person to pile on the whole nobody likes you, nobody wants you, you're so disgusting. Black women, you should just kill yourself. And I did that. And what was really heartbreaking was that I have 40% of my fan base are men. And I observed video after video after video that this man made. And not one man, black, white, or otherwise, came to the black woman's defense.
Oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I think we've gone full knife in time.
So that's it, huh? That's your kill shot? Listen, I have been in various debates with people throughout my life. A lot of times I've gotten my ass verbally kicked. A lot of times I verbally did the ass kicking. But this ain't even a debate. This isn't even anything hard and concrete. This is you just wagging your finger and shame on you for not being the lapdog that I thought you were going to be and doing what simps do. Let me just bring this home because this is really, for me, low-hanging fruit. And for as much as I enjoy poking fun at you, I have to admit it's getting kind of a bit boring. So let me just go on and say this. The entirety of the first 20 to 25 minutes of your video has been nothing so far but skullduggery, buffoonery, and in short, to quote the voice of the everyday brother, my man from 100 Grand, Mr. Mumia Obsidian Ali, I got tongue-tied earlier saying it, black female fuckery at its finest. It is. And what is so ostensibly saddening here is that, Miss Karazin, this could be a genuine time for real genuflection. And then, of course, to say, does it mean something to me? And why does it bother me that black men didn't speak up? But then, why would you want them to? So these are the questions you have to ask yourself. But then, Miss Karazin, to do such a thing would require you to be honest. And I don't think that is something you can do very well, at least in this context anyway. I won't speak to other matters of your life because I don't know you. And to make such an assumption on one's character without evidence would be pretty stupid. But here, just here in this video so far, you've managed to do exactly that. Be dishonest. And let me just go on to say, but if a person would lie to you about something this minor and this small, imagine what else they would lie to you about. So see, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to bear that in mind as the following videos come out. In fact, I'll save that to the end of this thought. In my Jerry Springer-esque moment, my final thoughts. Ms. Karazin, you can't expect a population who you have personally helped tear down be the undergirding to cover you when you've been practically laid naked. I can agree to what the Veganator said because by and large, as an African American or African descended individual, I've noticed this very same amplitude amongst other black women. It is a catfish. The numbers bear out that most of you are diseased sexually. A lot of you are obese and overweight. And from the majority of you who I've spoken to, your attitudes are piss poor when you don't even have 2 nickels to rub together for yourself. Would it be so wrong to me to agree to something that I've actually seen because the man is white and I'm not? But then again, we have to also ask Ms. Karazin, if you took this tack, I would imagine if your husband, whom you disagreed with, would have this position, would you secretly think these things, but you wouldn't tell him this? But even if that weren't the case, and let's just stick to the main topic here, this exercise of futility, Ms. Karazin, isn't going to change a goddamn thing. So you announcing that your tears are over and all this is no different than the little kid in kindergarten who's getting a tantrum because she couldn't play in the sandbox, or she couldn't play with the little dolly. So now she's pouting her lips out and crossing her arms and going, knowing full and well the people she's trying to get her way with and attention from is just going to tell her to stand her little ass in the corner and shut the fuck up. Or better still, she pulls this crap with her parents and might get her pants dropped in the middle of Sears and get the worst spanking a little kid of that age could get. Which, adding to the fact that you did verbally get spanked and then the public humiliation to follow, I can understand why you feel in your feelings. Why you are in your feelings. But as I just previously stated, Ms. Karazin, it would be much simpler if you would just genuflect on why black men are agreeing with him. But then, Ms. Karazin, that would require you to acknowledge that these things that were being said long before the Veganator walked onto the set. So even then, you do not respect us enough to give us the credit that there were several men who were saying these things. Wait a minute. That's why you painted it. Because, Ms. Karazin, even when you try to say in such an offhanded way that he likes us, just dislikes us as much as you do, it comes across even more condescending because it's coming from you. See, we understand the vegan might have his opinions about whoever he has his opinions about. I think most rational men, regardless of what you believe, can accept the fact that not everyone's going to like who you are or what you are in some instances. But if we can agree on some things, okay, that's fine. That's like, for example, I can agree to a person. A person might have some biased views, and he might say, those niggas over there, blah, 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 blah. But if he factually is telling the truth, am I going to object to it on the basis of being black, or am I going to agree to it? Now, I might personally find him deplorable, but if he's telling the truth, then what does Shakespeare say to do? But tell the truth and shame the devil. The problem is, Miss Karazin, all that you're trying to accomplish is falling back on you. And it would be so much more entertaining if it wasn't downright pathetic watching you try to pull this crap. So I hope, sincerely, you get a therapist, because damn. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the next video, the videos are up, but I'm not going to turn them public. I would hope sincerely that if you want the other parts of the video to come forward, give me 50 likes on this video, 50 likes, and I'll release the next one. If not, then that's fine. It's cool. So stay tuned for part 2.